Good morning. Hey Jeremiah, how you doing today? I am pissed off. I am pissed off. I am about as pissed off as I can remember ever being. Hey Jelly. Hey Linda. Hey Kevin. Hey Meme. Good morning. I am so tired of it. Makes me even more angry that we have people in this country like they are. Like it's not just this administration. I had a video that sort of blew up a couple days ago and it's just increased today. Talking point? Yeah, I know, right? Crazy. Crazy. Mango Mussolini. Sort of, but not really. The Navy is considering renaming one of their aircraft carriers that's being built that is named after a World War II war hero, the first black service member to ever win the Navy Cross, and instead to name it after Trump. And when I read that story, I almost threw my phone. I rarely get so angry that I almost throw my phone, but I almost threw my phone when I read that story today. How did the same way they decided they want to rename the Kennedy Center and everything else? They're trying to appease their narcissistic overlord. And again, and like I said in the video, even if this doesn't end up actually happening, like the name change doesn't actually happen, the fact that they're even considering it, the fact that they're even considering it is about as shitty of a thing that another human being can do on this earth right now. Maybe not the top, but pretty damn close. Ronald, just because you don't have the ability to have any humanity or empathy, don't come in here and just act like a jackass. Okay? Go be a jackass somewhere else. I'm not dealing with your shit today. You're a child. You are a child who needs to grow up. Kimmy, it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't change the fact that it's a part of humanity that hurts that disappoints me, that disgusts me every time I see it in action. You know? It definitely doesn't surprise me. Guys, thank you for coming in here, for joining the teams, for giving, for tapping. Please, if you didn't mind helping with that. If you haven't seen the video, please go watch the video if you need to know more about the story. But I really want today's live to be bigger than any other live I've had in a long time. Not because I specifically, what are they renaming it? What do they want to name it to? They want to name it after the current president of the United States. What are they renaming now? They want to rename a an aircraft carrier that was named after a black World War II hero after the president instead. That already announced it, already had a whole thing about it. Had the family there to announce it, and now they're considering renaming it. So I want this to be bigger because I think it's one that's being built right now. So it's called the USS Doris Miller. That's why Doris Miller is today's topic. Not when they've already announced it. They don't. Who determines if it can be renamed? I mean, my guess is the Navy. Because the ship's not done, so my guess is it's not written in stone yet. J-Rog. They are dishonoring a war hero by trying to take away the honor of having him named after having an aircraft carrier named after him, to rename it to that piece of shit. But again, it's not that big of a deal. Thrust me. No, it's that big of a deal. Ronald, it's literally that big of a deal. The fact that you don't think it's that big of a deal is why people like you are the problem. People like you that don't think it's a big deal are the reason that we cannot move past some of these problems that we've been struggling with in this country forever. Exactly. So, guys, if you are in this live, please tap that nose, share this live with people. If you have the ability to join the fan club, please join the fan club. Anything that will help push this out, because this is not okay. Captain Bone Spurs, you know. Can all that be removed? It can. Things can be renamed as far as I know, but it doesn't change the ultimate problem. I don't know how easy it is to change the name of a boat. Hey, Steph. How are you, my friend? I've refused to listen to any of Trump's pressers this week for my own mental health. That's fair. Fair. I know, Rodney. I'm sorry. I I almost threw my phone when I read it. At my last day of work today before school starts, I'm a camp counselor. Oh, nice. Why Doris Miller? Go watch the video. Miller is a hero. Absolutely. Unfortunately, David, they're trying to find a way around it. Now they want to call it the JFK Center for Performing Arts, whatever it's called. Renovated and refurbished by Donald Trump. Oh, I understand that, Rodney. I understand the reasoning. The thing that bugs me is I end up going down a rabbit hole in these. So like through this process, I learned that of the over 3,000 medals of honor that have been given out since World War II, only 2% of them have gone to black people. And yet black people have made up 17 to 18% of the military pretty consistently. Ronald, why do you have to be an absolute piece of shit? Like, did you grow up without any love in your life? Because that's what it feels like. Do you lack basic human decency? Because that's what it feels like. I don't care if you care or not about this situation. What I do care is you coming in here and dishonoring not just every veteran, but every black person in this country with your bullshit. Ronald, shut up. Oh, I know, Rodney. Whites have done a lot of absolutely shitty things to. Trust me, it's not that big a deal. We're at war. There's bigger issues in the world at the moment. Disagree. Hey, Doug, how's stream going? Stream's going well. Stream's going well. How are you? He doesn't think it's a big deal that they want to rename an aircraft carrier named after a black war hero after Trump. This mentality, the fact that this is even happening, is part of the problem that we are experiencing in this country. When someone comes in and says, it's not a big deal, there are bigger issues. No, that's the problem, is there aren't. Because so many of the issues, hey, Miriam, how are you doing, my friend? See you later. Can't support this emotional chaos. Okay, bye. I always love it when people show they have no emotional maturity at all. The lack of emotional maturity is wild. But how are you doing, Miriam? How's your day been? I keep missing your live. Do you have any lives where you're interviewing people in the vertical space soon? I want to actually watch one. Good morning, Gina. I just walked out my back door and screamed. I understand. Supposed to be interviewing someone on Sunday? Heck yeah. I'm going to be interviewing Lexi Angel today. No, he didn't. No, he didn't, Mr. Slippers. He didn't at all. DQ page will post the poster later today. That's awesome. Has had a tradition of excluding blacks or denying or downgrading the honors when they were tried to be given. Death rate has not plummeted. Not, and it's, well, at least, let me change it. If it's plummeted, it's not because of anything this administration has done. Am I a vet? No, I'm not. Sorry, I just jumped in. What I miss? We're talking about a story just came out. There's an aircraft carrier that, as it was being built, was announced that it was going to be named after a Black World War II hero. And reports have come out that the Navy is considering renaming it to Trump, Donald J. Trump. So from the USS Doris Miller to the USS Donald J. Trump. And I am pissed. Yeah, seriously. Boo the orange man. Yep, pretty much. Pretty much. And what made it worse is there were people that were coming in and defending it. So there's a lot of things that are supposed to they're trying to put his face on money too, and that's supposed to be the case as well. As you have to be deceased. And his face on passports and a lot of other things. This too shall pass. That's the point. It can't pass. If this too shall pass this, then that mentality, the thing that allowed something like this to happen, can continue. Oh my gosh. Doris Miller's story is absolutely amazing. If you haven't, go look up the story of Doris Miller. Yeah, but that doesn't fix the underlying problem, Smokey. That doesn't fix the underlying problem. The reason that this can happen is something that needs to be fixed. Hey, Dolphin. I'm doing good. How are you? Again, it's not the actual act of changing the name. It could not get changed. If this could end up not happening. That's not the point. Just starting the day, we'll see how it goes. Yeah. Oh, I would love to see everyone. There's a lot of people that aren't standing up. Hey, Candace. How are we here in 2026? It's horrendous. Wasn't the racist supposed to die with my grandparents? There was that hope. For sure, Kimmy. There was that hope for sure. Guys, if you could keep tapping, joining the team, sharing, all those things help out so much. Make it possible for me to keep doing what I'm doing. The goal is to be able to do this full time. Be another story come November. It might be. It might be another story. It'll be tons of stories. But if we don't actually face the underlying problems, we're just going to go in a big circle, which is what we've been doing for centuries. Back to the work grind. Hope to see you on Sunday. We'll talk again soon. Have a good day, Miriam. I appreciate you. I'll definitely see you on Sunday. If you ever want someone else to come up and talk that's just getting into it, let me know. Hey, Jelly.
Good morning. Well, morning. So I just want to say, they're setting precedent. They're breaking laws. They're pushing boundaries. And this is setting a precedent. And if we don't nip it in the bud as soon as we can, then things are just going to be chaos for however long. It's not just this one thing, right?
Indy, you think the existence of racism, the continued existence of racism, is fear-mongering? The left didn't create racism. Humans created racism. Especially humans that look like me created racism. They're really good at it. No, it's absolutely real. Was it created? Sure. But it exists and it's real. No, the left did not create. Conservatives, the conservative right created it. Ash. I can't believe we're still having this conversation. I can't believe you guys are willing to be so blind to the realities of this world. But I guess it's because you probably are yourself. But regardless,
A lot of people are still in denial about the fact that the priorities and whatnot shifted between the quote unquote Republicans and Democrats.
I didn't start this
Frustrating.
story, Indy. White people did. The white people in office that are willing to take the name of a black war hero off of it to put a guy who's a draft dodging piece of shit on. Don't give me this bullshit about I'm the only one who's perpetuating this narrative. No. No. This is a narrative that I never want to have to speak of ever again. That's the part you don't get. As long as people like you pretend that it doesn't exist, it still exists, which means we have to keep talking about it. You can't move on. The only people that want to move on are the ones that are comfortable with the racism. Why can't you get that? No, you can't.
Until my Black friends and family are treated the same way that I am, racism still exists. And not just my Black friends and family, but my brown friends and family, my indigenous friends and family. Good morning, Vintage.
Hey, Vintage.
Good morning. Hey, I just wanted to say something really quick, if you don't mind. I'm
Yeah.
working, so I can't stay up long. I don't know if any of the other 130 something people in here live in Virginia's second district. That's where I live. It covers not all of Hampton Roads, but a large portion of Hampton Roads. And Norfolk Naval Base is the largest Navy base we have. So there are a ton of active duty Navy and veterans in this district, and our representative is a Navy veteran. And I think even if you don't live in this district, everybody needs to light her up on this topic because she's a Republican. I feel like this is one thing that people might be able to get through to her on and get her, like, she has a chance to actually have some integrity and stand up and say something about this in Congress. I will be lighting her up, calling her, writing her every single day. My retired Navy partner, I assure you, will be doing the same because when he gets home from work and finds out about this, he is going to explode. He's going to lose his mind. And I think there's a lot of active duty Navy and Navy veterans who are going to be really unhappy about this. So, they need to lead the charge on being loud about this.
MLK's family does not support Trump.
That's
Sorry.
wild.
That you're even saying that is hilarious.
I would encourage everybody to seek out not just her, but anybody who's in Congress or senators that are active duty, that were active duty, that are veterans, especially Navy veterans, and push them on this. Make them publicly make statements about this. And she's up for reelection, so I hope this is the end of the road for her.
Yeah.
So I just thought, the only angle I can think of to try to get any noise on this is to just try to talk to your representatives, make them make a statement about it, because I think a lot of them are going to be very hesitant, even if they're Republicans, to support this. Because how could you? What can you say? What can you say on the public record about this that's going to look good for you going forward into re-elections?
Mm-hmm.
You have to use what you can with these people. They want to get reelected.
Yep.
And I want to try to force her to publicly say, as a Navy aviator, that this is appropriate. And I just want to remind everybody, this is the same man that they had to hide a ship from during his last administration because it said McCain on the side of it. They had to literally cover the ship up so that he didn't have to look at it when he visited that base, because that's how much of a child he is. Anyway, so I just wanted to come up and say that. I don't know if we have any other people in Hampton Roads, but guys, we're the biggest Navy population in the world for the U.S. Navy, and everybody needs to be loud and obnoxious about this because this is just absurd.
Yep.
It's just such a slap in the face.
It really is.
On top of the fact that we make Black active duty people serve on bases that are named after Confederates.
Yeah.
And renaming some of them that we changed.
Yep.
So anyway, thank you. I appreciate it. I just wanted to come up and encourage everybody to be the absolute most obnoxious constituent you can.
Yeah.
I'll be listening. I'm working, but I'll be listening in. Thanks.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Rodney, I've been asking where the line in the sand is for years. That is the entire basis of this podcast, of the podcast that I have, of this live, all of it is how can we need to get back to a point where we can agree on a line in the sand and then start holding everybody to that line. And as long as we live in a society where people are willing to keep moving that line just because their side or whatever, or they're unwilling to accept the fact that things like racism still exists, we're going to keep struggling with this. No, it wasn't a joke to change it, Jay. You're a joke to think that it should have come back. You are the problem. Why can't you get that? How can you have so little humanity for this, for anybody? How can you care so little about anybody? I know you can't answer, and I'm fine with that. But how can you care so little about anybody that you cannot see a problem with a base named after someone who thought that black people were less than human and thought it was okay to have black people serve in a place like that?
Heather says, do you think we will ever agree on a line? And I would argue that it's going to take things to get a whole lot worse than they are even now before there can be something close to a full agreement. We're still too divided.
I think there will always be a section of humanity that will not come to agreement. And I say this not because I don't hope that I'm wrong. They're just, I mean, maybe long in the future if we start changing the way we do things, but as long as we keep allowing racism, sexism to be a thing, as long as people that look like me, both race and sex, are unwilling to be a part of the change, people that think like that will always in some way, shape, or form train other people to think like that. And depending on when you can get to them, it can be impossible to get them out of that mentality. Like, I ask questions to these people that are in here saying some of these absolutely wretched things, but I know that I'm not going to be able to change their mind. Like, they're not hearing what I'm saying because they don't see these people on the same plane as them.
And I would say a lot of times they just don't even care.
Ah, okay, gambler. Well, 118,000 people just on this app alone would disagree with you. So, I know, Rodney. I made a video about that too. The fact that hanging people from trees, black people from trees is happening on a more regular basis, and probably more than even has been reported on, is that's probably why I got to the point of almost throwing my phone.
Can we please keep looping Mike's snoot and sharing out the live? Because this is a really, really important topic.
I've never said that I changed mine. I already know that I'm not going to be able to change minds of people that think like you, gambler. That's not my goal. That's not why I do this. My goal isn't to change minds. I have no capability. No one has a capability to change minds by themselves, especially in a live. That's not what this is about. This is about having conversations with people that want to have conversations. That's it. What's up, Shug? So no, I know my follower count doesn't mean that I've changed a mind. I do know I've changed minds. They've come up and talked to me after. But what having that many people follow me does mean is that what I say is value to them. So we're against changing the names of things now when we're changing it from a black war hero to a 4-time draft dodging piece of shit. Yeah, we're against changing names now. We're against changing that name now. Just like we're against changing the name of a base from a non-Confederate general to back to a Confederate general. Jersey, thank you for showing you didn't hear a word I said. I need to know what to be mad about. I'm on your side. Uh-huh. There you are. I'm against changing the name of a memorial to a fucking idiot. Yeah. He is. Gambler. He is. There's plenty of credible evidence. They're just hiding it. My friend lives in Jackson, Mississippi, and he sees the remains of the awful past. Yeah. You wouldn't know critical thinking if it slapped you in the face, gambler. No. Fort Bragg was renamed. That fort was named for a Confederate general. I like how someone with a picture of Trump 2028 as their thing, it thinks I'm going to bring him up. Okay. No, Courtney. They want to change the name of a ship that's still being built. I think it's still being built, or if it's not, it's almost done. From a black war hero to Trump. But it's not a different brag now. You can say what you want. It's not a different brag now. Stop trying to defend a bullshit act. Why you gotta lead? Because he was. He became the first black serviceman to ever get the Navy Cross. Because it's racist, you piece of shit. Jersey, that's why. You get it, and yet you're sitting here acting like it's not a problem.
And it's not just the ship. They've been doing this since 2025. They have been removing names of Black people, Indigenous people, brown people, people who were outly in the community. It's all over the place. This isn't the first thing that's done. This just happens to be one of the most disgusting because they want to name it after this man.
No, it's not, Wendell. They can sugarcoat anything they want, but naming, when it was named Fort Bragg to begin with and it's still named Fort Bragg, that's still who it's named after. They're just BSing their way into it. Like, stop trying to defend the indefensible. No, we're good right now, Courtney. Thank you. You trying to defend horrible decisions and bullshit decisions is why we are continuing to have this problem. Yeah. Jesus. Again, been a Christian my entire life, 47 years. Jesus wants nothing to do with us. Not especially not with the government. Nor does he have any authority over the government because we are not a theocracy. I think so too. You hear about Oklahoma? I did not. Well, he may have thought of all of us on the cross. Doesn't change that he would be disappointed and sad in what people are doing in his name to other human beings, to other of his creations. No, not governmentally he doesn't. And what kind of a statement is that? A true one. Because again, I've said it in videos and I will say it again. If what people that call themselves Christians are okay with and supporting happening to other human beings, some of which are also Christians, that's not a God I want any part of. Nope. None of that loves hates the sin, loves the sinner. That's bullshit. That is just an excuse that Christians made up in order to be able to be horrible people to other people. Nope. That is an excuse that Christians made up to excuse being horrible to other human beings. Are they allowed to have their own personal belief systems? Yes, as long as those belief systems don't affect the lives, especially of other people. I can have my own beliefs. Being horrible to others is a sin. Okay. Then you're making my point. Jesus gave us free will to do anything, bud. Okay? What does that have to do with the government? What does that have to do with politics? Nothing.
What does
We
that have to do with being a good person or not?
we are
Like,
still we are still a country with freedom of and from religion. No law shall be made regarding any one religion. Was the last admin spying on Christians? I don't know. Were they? If they were, it wasn't because they were Christians. And if it was against the law, it was still against the law. They weren't doing it because of their religious beliefs. They may have been doing it because they were just horrible people. Again, this is where this identity politics bullshit comes in. When someone does something bad, do you assign it to an entire community, or do you assign it to just being a bad person? The principle of freedom does not originate from Christianity. Christianity didn't even originate from Christianity. Hmm. Nope.
Christianity would
They
still be a cult if one guy hadn't said, "Hey, yeah, let's do this."
So, Wendell, two things to say to that. One, no, they didn't. Two, even if some of them did, it doesn't change the fact that they don't. And the Constitution is not a religious document. Nope. Most did not. Most believed that there was a divinity, but did not actually believe that any specific God did anything. God is just God. It means nothing. Where do our rights come from? Society. We as a society decide what rights we have. Nope. Our rights do not come from God. Literally none of them. As a society, our rights do not come from God. Not even a little bit. Our rights in America come 100% from our society. Society as a whole deciding what rights people get. God, the Bible, none of them have anything to do with our rights. Again, the founders believing that rights came from God doesn't mean that our rights actually come from God. In the grand scheme of things, our rights have nothing to do with God. No, government does not exist to protect our God-given rights. Government exists to protect societal rights. And that's it. Says me. Yes, says me. Not the founders. Don't care what the founders thought. Founders aren't alive. Founders aren't here. Founders don't exist anymore. Our government looks nothing like when the founders started this country. Who is
And
you?
things like
I'm an American.
things like God-given rights and the year of our Lord. That was the vernacular of the time.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with religion.
What God-given rights did black people have when the founders wrote the Constitution? What God-given rights did black people have when the founders wrote the Constitution? So don't give me that bullshit. You can sit here and juggle, try again. No, zero. They had none. They had zero rights. Not the point. Is the point. So 100% the point. Because the rights didn't actually come from God. It came from man. It came from how men viewed society at the time. How they viewed black people, how they viewed white people, how they viewed women, how they viewed men, how they viewed everyone. And that all changed over time to some extent, not enough, because it has nothing to do with God. It has to do with society.
Imagine today being unalived legally because you're trying to run away from being abused.
Thank you, Natty. I appreciate that. Men fought with women to fight for their rights. So, who's Doris Miller? I would go watch the video that I posted today. It'll give you a quicker response just because we're talking about something else right at the moment. I agree, Sean. David, it's called Parkinson's disease. I know. Jersey, go away. I'm done with you. Thank you, guys. But yes, Doris Miller was an American hero, a true patriot. And again, can you imagine being his family? They had a whole ceremony around the naming of this, around the naming of the aircraft carrier after him. They already named a ship after him. John, that's dumbass. You do rarely agree with me, EPP. Guys, can we mark down today? EPP actually agrees with me on something. This is wild. I appreciate you. As much as I may get frustrated with you, I appreciate the fact that you keep coming back and we can find something we agree on. Well, I appreciate that we can agree on that line. You think, John, that I'm a hater because I think that a war hero who was the first black serviceman to ever receive the Naval Cross is getting his name taken off, that was announced, not just announced, they had a whole ceremony on it, off of an aircraft carrier to be named after someone who never served, in fact was a draft dodger, just to appease the vainness of that man. I'm sorry. That's what it was. Couldn't find it. It would be the third video on my page. Because I've got 2 pinned videos. It's the first non-pinned video on my page. Looked for the same shirt and hat. Exactly. Because I videotaped it this morning. Yep. You know, Greg, I don't know. Because it never really was. Remind folks to tap. Guys, if you wouldn't mind tapping that screen, joining the fan club. Sharon, I'm an Arty veteran, and I couldn't imagine trying to explain to Doris Miller's family what is happening. Oh my gosh. If you watch the video, you see the pictures from the event where they announced it, and you just saw the joy on their faces looking at the honor that was given to him. And I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine that level of disrespect is, and dishonor is, it's really, like I said, I wanted to throw my phone when I read that story. I wanted to throw my phone. So the aircraft carrier is still being built. It's almost done from what my understanding is. It has already been announced to have that name. I don't know how the naming works, but they already said that this aircraft carrier being built was going to be named the USS Doris Miller. And now they're considering changing it. For a sitting president who has it's only for vanity. It's literally only for vanity. The man wants his name on everything, and it's just disgusting. Changing it to what? The USS Donald J. Trump. Of course. Well, that's not the Constitution, Wendell. That is the Declaration of Independence, not the same thing. And their creator is a very broad term. Which creator? We are a country freedom of and from religion, which means everyone who lives here who believes in something different believes in a different creator. And just because they believe there is a creator does not mean that our society in 2026 is made up, is that we get our morals and everything we believe are rights from God. You know God is the creator. Doesn't matter what I know. We as a country are a country of freedom of and from religion, which means there's a lot of people in this country that don't believe what I believe. There's lots of people in this country that don't believe in God at all. And yet, they can believe in rights too. Their belief in rights didn't come from God if they never believed in God. Not to mention, nobody in this administration is living as though they believe that all Americans get any of those inalienable rights that are talked about in the Declaration of Independence. Good morning, Lino. How are you? They might as well name it Giant Orange Floating Turd. USS. I can't say that, Silver, but yes, it's probably already taken. Again, my personal beliefs don't allow me to make decisions outside of myself. And that's the point. I can believe, based on my religion even, that something is okay, that the law says isn't okay. Doesn't matter what I believe. I live in a society. The Constitution does not try to force anyone to believe in God, but Christians, especially in the same society, do. And they also are actively doing things to make life more dangerous for people that don't believe in their God. But you're right. The Constitution is very specific that we are a freedom of and from religion. I've known about Doris Miller all my life. I literally cried when I found out this morning. I'm sorry, Sean. But they don't come from God. They come from a constitution. And they come from the people that live in society. We decide what's okay. We have the capability of deciding that anything is okay. So God believed that slavery was okay and now it doesn't. God believed that black people did not have rights and now God does. You cannot wrap your head. You've been so conformed into this mentality that you cannot see the hypocrisy in your own statements. You believe in the tyranny of the majority. I believe in democracy. I believe a society exists based on what a majority of the people in that society believe, which has always been the case everywhere, in every society since the dawn of the planet. It's not that I believe in it, it's that that's what it is. As time goes on and a majority of people believe something different than what they used to, society changes. If society gives rights, the majority can take those rights away by changing the law, sure, as is always the case. That's always the case. Arguably, if enough people believed that as a society we shouldn't have freedom of religion, the majority of the country could, whether by action or inaction, could make that and could bring that into existence. That's how society works. So I'm throwing the Constitution out? No. You can change it, though. Called an amendment. You got to you got some pretty strict standards to make it happen. But we could get rid of the First Amendment, just like we got rid of like we made alcohol illegal and then we made it legal again with 2 different amendments. What other rights? All of them. It was an amendment. There was an amendment in the Constitution that made alcohol illegal. And then there was another amendment later on that made it legal again. Remember the numbers off the top of my head?
For some reason, I want to say the 19th.
The 18th Amendment banned the making, selling, or moving of alcohol, prohibition, and 21st Amendment canceled the ban, giving states the power to control alcohol rules. That's the point of amendments. That's why they call it a living document. Like literally the first, the things that we talk about, the rights that we are given, were amendments to the Constitution. They were added in later. Technically, when the Constitution started out, we didn't have freedom of speech. We didn't have freedom of a religion. We didn't have the freedom to bear arms. We didn't have any of them until the amendments got passed. First of all, anything that is repugnant to the Constitution is that, no, that's not. That literally, the decision over whether something is acceptable cannot govern itself. I've read Article 6, genius. I've read the whole Constitution, back to front, front to back, about 1,000 times. You can amend anything. That's why you couldn't, that's why legislatures picked senators to begin with, and now they're voted on. So I guess we can take Trump's name off. That's not the point. Of course we could take Trump's name off after, but not with a simple majority. Okay. Yeah, because there are laws. Not everything can get changed with a simple majority, nor should everything be able to be changed with a simple majority. It doesn't change anything. I don't understand why you guys can't get this. And hi, Clara. Do we need an amendment to end it? Here's the thing about something like that. You can make a law to give, you can make an amendment to give more rights to certain groups of people or take away rights from certain groups of people. In the end, that won't fix the problem of supremacy. Again, that's more of a societal mindset that needs to be built through time, through generations. But I mean, technically, sure, you could make an amendment to say that, you know, to say that whatever you want. You can make an amendment to say whatever you want. But you also need 3/4 of the states to ratify it. So It's why things don't get changed very often. Because you have to have a very decent level of agreement in order to pass something. You're right. A lot have laws against racism, and it still exists. Because again, the problem in the end is a societal problem. Need an amendment to support it? I mean, you can make laws that support it. All an amendment does is make it harder to end it. Harder to take those protections away. No, Constitution is not a framework so God-given rights could be expanded to all. That's not even close. The Constitution, at its writing, did not give all people in our country God-given rights. Like literally, there was 20% of the country had no rights at all, weren't even considered human beings. It
The
didn't
original
lay any
Constitution,
framework. It didn't lay any framework.
the original Constitution was created in the mindset of rich white land owning men. That's who it was written for originally. And we've had to fight for the last 250 years to even get the rights that we have now, and even those are at risk.
Need an amendment to stop erasing American citizens' history. Again, you can make an amendment to do anything. How you'd write an amendment to that, I don't know, but you can make an amendment to do anything. No. Have Americans used the amendment process? All the amendment process is an acknowledgement that everything that they wrote in the beginning has the capability of being changed. It had nothing to do with the founding fathers' desire to give everybody God-given rights. If that were true, they would have just given everybody God-given rights. They wouldn't have needed an amendment process for it. They would have written it into the original document without an amendment. Again, Wendell, you can use whatever dance you want to in your brain to try and pretend that Christianity is the best thing ever and Christians are the best people ever. They're not. Yeah, the amendment process is spelled out in Article 5. Okay. Again, acknowledging the fact that change can happen does not mean that they did it with the mindset of laying the groundwork to give everybody rights. Correlation does not equal causation. Just the fact that people got rights because of things that were passed in the Constitution does not mean that the founding fathers wrote it for that purpose. There is nothing in the documents of the conversations they had that would have made anyone believe that there was any end goal of giving black people rights when they wrote the Constitution. Sorry. Not one.
Women, slaves, etc. We were property. We were not people. We were property at that time.
That's why people still want to go back to this like one family, one vote bullshit. Everyone has a right to have a say in what they want this country to look like. Everyone. Everyone should have a vote. Everyone should feel safe. Everyone should be able to survive and thrive for no other reason than you are an American and you have and we as a society should have humanity for all. And again, say whatever you want about what you believe Christians and God, Christianity and God had to do with our Constitution. Nothing that I am seeing from Christians in charge in general makes me believe that, because again, if you believe that Christianity is good, if you believe that our Constitution and our society was built on Christian beliefs and Christian morals, then God sucks. That's why that's the only thing that makes me believe and be okay with still being a Christian, is because I know that that wasn't the purpose. Because if it was, God sucks. Because the Christians that believe that are absolutely wretched to other human beings. I mean, they represent their God, just like every religion does. We as believers are representatives of what we believe, And that is why I will constantly fight against Christian nationalism. Hey, Patty. It's only one God. If it is only one God, Barbara, and again, I'm not even talking about my beliefs here. If it is only one God, then no one can even agree on what that looks like. So saying that doesn't mean anything. I would be amazed if you and I believe on what God looks like. And also, we are a country with freedom of and from religion. So we've got a lot of people that have a lot of ideas of what God looks like, or don't believe in God at all. And that's okay. That's okay. Do I believe in God? Personally, yes. I believe in the God that is talked about in the Bible. I actually think we need to stop using God to only mean one religion, because God is a very generic term, but I understand there's a big G God and a little g God. No, it's not the only God that matters. Actually, if you believe in the Bible, God didn't give us freedom to begin with. But again, we're not getting into religious conversations now. And you were allowed to believe that, Steve. God may not force himself on anyone, but Christians certainly do force God on people. Anyways, back to the topic of Doris Miller, because that's what we're supposed to be talking about. This is not supposed to be. Yes, he is not the author of freedom. Oh my gosh. I'm done. No more. No more. We're done talking about it. You talk about it again, anyone, you're just getting muted. It's not what's so funny about it. I'm done talking about religion. This is not supposed to be talking about religion in this live. That's not the purpose of this live. Not a religious live. I already talked about it too long, in my personal opinion. Educate me on Doris Miller. Doris Miller was a mess attendant during World War II. He was given the first black serviceman to ever be given the Navy Cross for taking down a Japanese plane and saving servicemen. They announced they were naming a aircraft carrier after him. And it has been reported now through multiple sources that the Navy is considering renaming the USS Doris Miller to the USS Donald J. Trump. Yeah, I am going to cry because the racists in this country are pieces of shit, and I cannot stand this level of racism anymore. Is it confirmed? It's confirmed that they're talking about it. It has not been confirmed that they're doing the change. The fact that they're even talking about it is as bad, in my opinion. The fact that it's even being considered is a slap in the face. It's dishonorable to every veteran. I'm just so tired of racism in general, but the blatant racism in 2026. Grace, I appreciate you coming in and talking about all that stuff. That's not what we're talking about today. That is not the conversation today. Jason, Democrats aren't the one talking about changing the name on the aircraft carrier. The DNC is a corporation. Stop it. I understand that she is a black woman who served her nation's country. That is not the topic of today.
They're not trying to erase her right now.
We are in election season, but this is still my live. What are all carriers named after? Whatever we want them to be. Jason, go rage bait in a different chat. I'm not dealing with your bullshit. The fact that you are unwilling, you're so stuck on your identity politics. We're not doing it. We need, yes, we need to get new people in office everywhere who are willing to be held accountable and are going to fight for real change. But in the end, we need to stop having it be about blue and red, progressive, conservative, Republican, Democrat. And it needs to be about humanity, people, Americans. We need to be able to come together and say, this is wrong. And we need, why would I bring you up, Jason? Like, are you guys that dense that when I say I'm done with you and you get muted, that you think that I'm actually going to bring you up? Like, what planet are you on? Gee. Correct, Teach. All but two. Okay. So what? That shows that there are two that aren't. Thank you for proving our point. Oh, I don't come together with MAGA. Bettis. There's no coming together with MAGA. Not happening. He's not who I'm talking about. He's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about people that actually have empathy and humanity for people. Right? Right, Peaceful? It's literally disgusting. I've never wanted to throw my phone so quickly. You are a phony and a hypocrite. Actually, I'm sticking to my morals and my line. Just because my morals and line don't actually accept everyone doesn't make me phony or a hypocrite. I have a line. You cross that line, there are consequences. And in this live, the consequences of it are you don't get to be a part of it. He didn't get blocked. He can come back tomorrow if he wants to be a jackass again. What do I think of Darlene Graham? I think her responses during the debate tell you exactly what I think of Darlene Graham. She doesn't care, nor does she know her constituents. She doesn't even know what's going on in the world. And no one should be a senator that cannot answer basic questions about the exact things that a senator is supposed to know about. I don't know, Peaceful. I really don't. I really don't. I don't understand any of it, if I'm being honest. Hey, Books.
Hey. I was just gonna say real quick to that, I also don't understand how people think, but I do understand, and it's an really sad thing, I feel like, to kind of come to terms with that reality over the last few years, is that there is a significant amount of people in this country who are just as horrible as Trump. I think that, people who try to use the line, oh, you're not tolerant, like, you guys are hypocrites because you want to claim tolerance. I don't even know where that even started, because in my eye, if you are making people uncomfortable because of who they are, you're not welcome in the space around me. Like, I'm not going to sit here and listen to your opinion or give your opinion any space whatsoever if your opinion is that of hate towards somebody else.
We as a country have tried, especially racist, sexist, misogynist, phobics, all that stuff have over the decades changed the idea of what freedom of speech means in their mind to this idea that every opinion is okay and you don't have and you have the right to say it everywhere to anyone. And that's not what freedom of speech in the Constitution is, never has been. And B, you don't have the freedom to say whatever you want around me in my own space. Not without consequences, at least.
Yep. I think that because of the way that our laws are created and the way that our Supreme Court is and how they interpret things, it makes a very slow process to any significant change. But I do know that there are constitutions worldwide that are similar to us in their version of freedom of speech. You can look at the UK and kind of see the difference and how they have interpreted free speech. And I do think that we need an update into what we allow as free speech, because I don't feel like, you know, hate I mean, I know other people are not going to agree with me, but I don't feel like you should be allowed to just be roaming down the street screaming hate speech and having the government with police officers protecting you because they're saying it's your right to free speech. Just because you have a right to free speech
Well, and
like in my mind doesn't mean that you can hurt people like that. Like that creates a greater risk to society, a greater risk to safety for everybody else.
And this comes back to my initial statement of this is why it's super important for us to come to an agreement on what our lines in the sand are, what our fundamentals are, and what is acceptable in society. Because in the end, what people can say out loud when walking down the street is decided by society. It's not decided by the government. The government, in the end, is quote unquote fighting to protect what we as a society have made acceptable, which is anyone can say anything, and we each have, we can agree to disagree. That whole statement started this whole process of where we are now, where any statement, no matter how crude, this idea of you can just ignore it and it will go away, has instead allowed those mentalities, those ideas, those ideals to grow into what we're dealing with right now. That's the reason why someone in Michigan can openly walk around with a schmatzi flag and have it be okay.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I was thinking. And to have the police and our resources used to protect him, to allow him that space to say those things and do those things, you know, I don't know, I'm not super up to date with a lot of like how they handle laws like that in other countries when they do have freedom of speech, but I do know that they do have laws that are against things like that.
Yes. And there are certain levels, there are laws against certain kinds of speech. Like freedom of speech actually does not protect you from the government for all speech. There actually are certain things that you aren't allowed to do, and the government has the right to do something about it. Hate speech is not protected by freedom of speech in the Constitution. The problem is now, again, we've turned things into opinions, and we've allowed this idea that words can't hurt people; they're just opinions, and so people shouldn't have their entire life ruined because of something they said. Goes down to this is what we do with everything, right? What you say shouldn't ruin your entire life. Young boys shouldn't have their entire lives ruined just because they made a mistake and graped someone. It's this mentality of accountability not having any level of existence in this country. No one gets held accountable. No one is willing to be held accountable for what they say or do. It's say whatever you want and then do everything in your power to avoid accountability for it. Thank you for the follow.
And we're just setting the example right now by not holding our commander in chief accountable for his actions and his speech. We've let it get all the way to the top.
I mean, it's just a continuation of the same thing that's been going on his entire life. That man, when you consider everything that man has done and the tiniest smidgen of which he's been held accountable for it, like that's just a, it's that mentality of, it's the mentality that used to go through or said, admitting you're wrong is a sign of weakness. why people don't admit they're wrong anymore. Because we don't hold people again, and this is why I say it's a giant circle, right? We all admit that we're all going to make mistakes. And yet when we make mistakes, we don't take responsibility for them, because also at times people are held responsible to such a level that there's no coming back. And that's for sometimes the smallest things. And this is why I say it's a circle. And I'm not trying to say that we should allow everyone second chances on everything. We absolutely shouldn't. It's just become this all or nothing thing in this country. There is, again, it goes back to there is no gray area on anything.
Mm-hmm.
We've gotten rid of the gray. You either can say whatever you want with no consequences, or anything you say is the end of your entire career and life even.
And there's a significant portion of the population who agree with him, and there's a significant portion of the population who may not openly say a lot of what he's willing to say, but they think it and they still agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
Probably an even larger population than the ones who are willing to say things out loud.
So 2 days ago, I posted a video talking about what happened in Dearborn, Michigan, and the fact that someone who was walking practically right next to Jake Lang was walking around with a schmotzy flag just out and open. And the amount of people that came in there and said, I'm okay with that, boggled my mind, made me want to throw up.
Yeah. And we need to, this is where I'm saying that we need to talk about, hate speech and how we have been allowing things in this country, and looking at what we're willing to allow for the right to say hate speech. Because when you have things like that, it's not just about comparing that person's, supposed right for them to be able to do that in the street, say whatever they want, carry that flag. It's also about everybody else in the public. It's about their protections and their rights. Having these white supremacists those that wear masks and walk down the street in mass, popping out of moving vehicles, and just, I get that they're not doing violence, but they're, one, asking for it. They're intimidating people on the street. They make people unsafe. They make people feel extremely unsafe, and you're creating environments that create a risk to the public. You're now utilizing public resources, to prevent mass disturbance.
Yeah.
We're utilizing all these resources for what? For one person or a group of people to be allowed to, in my opinion, abuse the general public.
I mean, this administration, in the month of July alone, ran a budget deficit of almost $500 billion in 1 month. Now, a good chunk of that was tariff returns, but still, $500 billion in deficit. That's over what money was brought in.
And I want to say about the Schwartzy thing, and I hate bringing this guy up because he turned out to be really super horrible, but Graham Platinum had a tattoo, and that was the most horrific thing for people. How dare we, and all of that. But we can, those same people support walking a Schwazi flag alongside an American flag.
Sorry, that was a door.
You're good.
I forgot to mute.
Conservative fiscal responsibility. Yeah, I mean, again, conservatives are not fiscally responsible. They aren't. I'm sorry, they're not. If conservatives were truly fiscally responsible, then they would want a single payer healthcare, universal healthcare system. They would. If you were actually fiscally responsible, you would want that. It's just a fact.
Fiscally responsible means also not dragging us into endless wars. It's where we get all of our debt from. It's where a majority of our debt has come from throughout history.
See, and here's the thing. I think what Trump exposed is not the true Republican Party, because I think I know some people that still call themselves Republicans, and I could see in any other lifetime them not being okay. And some of them are not okay and are speaking out and speaking up against what's going on with this administration. What I would argue is, again, I think it goes back to identity politics. We as a society have allowed ourselves to identify so hard with a party, with a side, with a religion, with anything, that Republicans that don't like what's going on cannot, their brain does not have the capability of separating what's going on with who they are, in the sense of the Republican side of things has become so much of who they are that it doesn't matter what happens. They have been taught that they have to support their party no matter what, because the other side is bad and they are good, and there is no other option. And it's like, the only time they will is when it's so bad that it snaps something. Look at Adam Kinzinger. Yeah, I got mad respect for Adam. Mad respect for Adam Kinzinger and what he has done since J6. I wasn't a fan of his before. That's what they're talking about doing, Aaron. Dumb or evil? No. I am not saying all people that align with that register with the Republican Party are dumb and evil. I think there are ones in the Republican Party that are dumb and evil. Absolutely. I think there's also been a lot of brainwashing, a lot of propaganda.
Yeah, there's been
over the decades.
I will say the Republican Party has become really great at saying a lie as many times as it takes until people will believe it as truth. They are definitely the party of identity. They have tied, Christian nationalism to their identity. They want to talk about indoctrination all the time, but the largest political indoctrination really has come from that Christian nationalism movement within the MAGA community. And they have built decades on this idea that they are fiscally responsible and they want small government, when we know that that's the exact opposite of what their party is about, at least currently, and what it's been about the last decade or so.
And are there people? Sure, of course there's problems in the Democratic Party with identity too. That's obvious. Identity politics is not a party thing. That being said, one side still doesn't care about, still seems to lack humanity more and allow their voting to go against humanity more often than the other group. That's just a reality. Only one side of people actively go against my fundamentals every single day. And it's not the Democratic Party. Does that mean every Democrat is good? Of course not. Never have said it, never would say it. I also don't believe that there should be any parties. I don't think we should be identifying with any group of people. What we should be identifying with is our fundamentals and what we care about and what we think our society should look like.
Even George Washington said that he didn't want to see the country divided into groups. He wanted individuals to run. He thought that was the best method to get the right people in the right places.
I will speak out against anyone, no matter what letter is next to your name, no matter what you have said in your past or present, that goes against my fundamentals. Hard stop. That's all that I care about. That is the line. All people, no matter your race, religion, gender, identity, deserve rights, respect, dignity, and safety. That's my line. If what you do and what you say shows that you lack those fundamentals, any one of them, I'm going to speak out against it. Eric Swalwell spoke out against it. Graham Platner spoke out against it. Newsom spoke out against it.
And I do think that, at least for some of the more egregious things that have popped up, even in tight situations, that at least recently people on the Democratic side have been trying to hold certain things accountable. I don't see that on the Republican side. You know, I know a lot of this is like fake outrage for a lot of things to stir up talking points on the news and stuff, but you know, we have held the line with certain things, even at cost to a potential election. The only time I can even remember the Republican Party last holding somebody accountable was maybe, I don't even remember who that guy was. The guy who got caught being a fraud. Like, he was literally a con man.
You mean in New York?
Yeah, from New York. And they kicked him out of the house.
Someone will have it. Give him 5 seconds.
I honestly can't think unless you guys
Which
can come
one?
up with something. I can't think.
The
Republican one.
He's like a cross-dresser, shown to be a cross-dresser in Brazil
Sanchez,
or something.
yeah.
No, Sanchez was
that it?
Texas.
Oh, is that Texas?
Santos. That's it.
Santos. Yes, Santos. Okay. But I mean, there have been, even when you're talking about the, I know we've talked about Fox News, and so many people have agree probably that they've lost family members to the indoctrination and brainwashing that Fox News is capable of achieving. But some of the things that I have heard from the newscasters there are some of the most foul things that I could ever think of. And there has been zero accountability. I mean, you said something like that on in any other time in history or somewhere else, you were done for.
Yeah.
We're talking your life is done for.
Yeah.
And now it's just common and normal over there.
I just want to ask this quick before I forget. Aaron, did you see the text I sent you? You don't need to answer in the sense of I don't need an answer. You can completely ignore it. I just want to make sure you saw it. Okay. Yeah, I texted you like a couple weeks ago, week and a half ago. It's fine. I know you're busy. Ooh, Patty. Patty. Holy crap. No, you're good. I know you're busy. I know you were insanely busy. Patty, thank you so much for that, for the flying jets. Guys, just so you know, something cool that did happen. I got invited to and now joined a social agency, a TikTok social agency. Be ways to make some, hopefully make some more income doing what I'm doing, more support, protection, all that other stuff. So you might see some things happen that involve doing things that, if we can hit certain benchmarks, can help make me more and make it possible for me to keep doing this. So just keep an eye out for that. Also, I got invited to, I'll give you more information as I get more information, but there's some I'm going to be talking with someone about a different streaming service that's out there that's going to be designed specifically for politics. So there's a lot of cool things going on. I've seen those open big opportunities. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, they can definitely open big opportunities for interviews too. Yep, for sure. But I'm definitely happy that I'm broadening. I'll probably end up making just different playlists. One will deal more with politics, one will deal more with stuff that's going on in the world, one will deal with harder conversations. Like, I'm enjoying interviewing people in Hollywood that are doing these vertical micro dramas. It's just a whole new world that I never knew about, and the people that are in it are just really cool people. And it's a world that I didn't know existed, and it's been really nice to get to know people.
I have to say,
Thank you,
Mike,
Aaron.
in the last year since I've been following you, you really have been an inspiration for me because of all the good work that you do, and it makes me want to do more. So
Well, thank you.
I just wanted to
I
appreciate
appreciate
you.
that. That means a lot. It really does. I got the video that I made about what happened in Dearborn, the DMs I got from that, wild. And the crazy thing is I know any woman that made a video like that would get 10 times the amount and probably 10 times worse. And that made it almost even more sick, because what I got was pretty bad. Was that the Home Depot? What? No, the Jake Lang went to Dearborn to do some thing that was happening at a city council meeting, and so of course all the Islamophobes were there, and a schmatzi flag was being waved. The crazy thing was the amount of people that are like, that was somebody else. Jake Lang's group made sure to get rid of that quick. I'm like, no, you guys don't get it. That guy, even if let's even give the possibility that were true. The fact that that guy felt comfortable to go into that group waving it meant that that's the kind of person who he aligns with. That's the part that people can't get.
Well, and I mean, let's not forget the fact that Jake Lang is an actual
Oh yeah.
Schnazi. Like, he does the salutes, he talks about their rhetoric, posts about it. Like, he is actually a real life one.
Yep. For sure. Yes, Ollie, that is what I am saying. They want to change it from a war hero who was the first Black service member to ever receive the Navy Cross to Trump. Why? Because Trump is a narcissist and everyone around him is a brown noser who wants to get on his good side, and it's probably about as narcissistic as he is, and will do anything to get more power and authority.
And this Trump himself and the leaders of the people who are surround him, they do not respect the military. Let's be very clear about that. They have no respect for our current military. They hate the people who are in it. They hate everybody. Like, the military has a very high percentage of immigrants, of minorities, a higher and higher percentage of women, people who come in because they have no other options, because they have lived in poverty their whole lives. And even all the way up to the top, where you have leaders in the military who reached the highest levels that they could and have a deep respect for the military and the nonpartisan of the military and their traditions, and, you know, putting forth the best people that we have. And many of them left. They left before Trump even got into his second term in office, when they knew he was coming, because they knew that this leadership does not respect the military.
Hey, Aaron.
Hey, I just wanted to say, nobody could figure out the steam catapults.
Oh,
and it makes perfect sense. So by spending billions more to refit steam catapults on the Doris Miller, it'll take an additional 7 years for the ship to be completed. By the time it's completed, the contribution, in quotes, made by him will justify by others the nomination for him to be the name. That's where it is. There it is.
Mm-hmm.
None of us could figure it out. It made no sense. There's no company that actually still makes steam catapults. They haven't been made for 20 years.
Nope.
So it literally means recreating old technology that doesn't actually exist. But finally, I couldn't find my way through the maze. Like, why was that important? And there it is.
Well, and I mean, that's not even the only thing. He also wants to move where the towers are on the aircraft carriers. He doesn't like where they are right now because they don't look good. So he wants to move them. I think they're in the middle now, and he wants to move them towards the back. Like, That's how imbecilic this guy is.
And where should the tail of an airplane be moved to?
I just
We always look at a reflecting pool to realize how this will alter out. You kind of wonder though how it gets in at the end of his term, how does that continue? And the answer is hopefully it doesn't.
I mean, it will all depend on who gets put in his place. Like, and who gets put in the place of all of MAGA. Like, because it's not like MAGA can't still cause problems after any president, after this president leaves office. They can still cause problems, but what it looks like. More DSA lies, misinformation, other DSA support this idiotic behavior. What behavior are we talking about?
Hey, Linda. Hey, Patty.
Department of Education is destroying and pushing for privatization. I mean, again, it is going to take decades to fix what this administration has broken. Like, it's not anyone that thinks life is going to start getting back to any semblance of quote unquote normal.
Half the country has no interest in fixing it. So
yeah, I mean, up until we got here because our country, like the voters and the government, have had no real interest in fixing it.
J.D. Vance is going to fix it. Mark Rubio Johnson is going to fix it.
And here's where I know I've stressed it before, but this is where we're going to continue to see a broader and broader divide between red states and blue states in general. We've already hit the milestone of a 10-year life expectancy gap between people who live in blue areas and people who live in red areas.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to continue to get worse. It's going to take, like you said, a very long time of rebuilding to get our institutions back, to get us on the right road again. And it's going to be a constant fight. It's going to be a constant fight of getting to approve the bridges and buildings and walls that we need to build back up against people who don't want to see that happen.
I think you're going to see a lot of grocery stores like what Mamdani is putting in New York City pop up in all the major, at minimum in the major cities, in blue states, because I do not see any other method of people being able to afford necessities without something like that existing. I just don't.
There's one
I'd
way.
like to add too. Oh, sorry, Aaron, go ahead.
I was going to say there's one way this changes, and that's for the pain in red states to be so profound that people have no choice but to rise up against the very people they put in power. That's the only way, in my view, that there's a shot that it becomes so awful.
A Great Depression.
Mm-hmm. I would also like to say that even after the left gets a chance to start trying to affect change, our national debt is so high that they're not going to be able to make the changes quickly, because we're going to have to split our revenue so much in order to start paying down the debt, as well as I see you thinking, Mike, that there are lots of departments that could be audited and whatnot, but
well, I mean, we could
right
literally cut our friggin' DOD
military
budget in half and probably start the process, but also
Mhm.
again, we've got to start making it so people, especially the top 1%, can't hold on to wealth forever and never spend it.
That's the biggest thing. We got to close some loopholes and force change for that.
And I think that, you know, our we really need to focus on also the message of affordability and us like the policies that we are trying to establish as being financially and fiscally responsible. So, you know, this idea of the grocery store, the right likes to claim that it's socialism, and they don't, without actually like explaining or having their people understand what is going on with those types of stores.
Mhm.
And like the idea behind that is not that people aren't paying for things, they're still paying for it, but you're cutting out a lot of the middleman issues that create barriers into areas that don't have access to grocery stores.
I would say though that the lack of information being put out there is totally the point. They don't want people to know.
We're living in a society that people don't know the truth. They're not able to access it. They're not interested in accessing it, and the left has been so vilified that uh, November's kind of day.
Unavailable. We will have spent almost half that just on the reflecting pool. I would much rather spend 50 million on 5 grocery stores, which will get their money back. It's just, again, it's not about profit. That's the point. Like, government's point is to do things that aren't about making profit. They're about doing things that are going to help society. So they're not going to have to, it's not about paying stockholders. It's not about, you don't have to pay, they won't have to pay property tax. They won't have to pay rent. They won't have to pay all of the things that every other business needs to do, which is why they can reduce the cost by 30%. They'll still
And
pay people to work there. They'll still be, you know, the people will still get raises. People will still be able to move up the ladders and all that other stuff. That stuff will still exist. They'll just pay them well, and they can still reduce costs.
and we have to really start understanding that profit is not just about what the board members or the stockholders are earning. If we don't have them, and like this grocery store business, you don't have that where you're trying to make that 20% plus profit margin just for the few handful of people to hold on to that profit. Profit, when we're looking at it for or fiscal responsibility, when we're looking at it for the community, is truly about what is the community getting out of that? Is the profit being seen more on the back end? When you feed people, I mean, being able to feed a community that doesn't have access to a lot of these things, it's only going to grow your local economy immensely.
Mark, we aren't Russia.
It's also why a country is not a business. It's not that's the to run a country like a business is to destroy the country. The country's not.
Yeah. One of the literal purpose of the government and us paying taxes is that the government will do things, has the capability of doing things that don't give a return, quote unquote.
Like Social Security, like Medicare, like Medicaid, like the programs that have been set up for the least amongst us, so people don't fall through the cracks.
Like putting money into medical research, like putting money into any form of research. Government's not going to get any money back from that, but if it's something that's important for the country that will help the country, that's that's the kind of person, that's the group you want to spend the money, because a pharmaceutical company that spends all of their money, that cares about profit, will go, how much money did I spend on research making this drug? How can I make back all that money plus extra? And then they will put a cost to it based on that. Hey, Lex.
Yeah, I mean, just look at Snap. You know, for every dollar that's spent on Snap, it's returned back into the economy, and it's worth what did they estimate it was worth? $1.60 back into the economy.
Versus the billions and billions and billions of spending on SpaceX.
So, Dimple, my understanding on how those businesses are working is they are still going to be run almost like a separate business. It's just not going to be about making profit. Again, it's not about making profit. They will need to make some, probably, because they will need to fix things. But it's not about making a ton of profit. It's about, yes, but unfortunately, there's a lot of fraud in research money usage. No, there's not.
There's almost no fraud. Just because your opinion of something shouldn't be researched doesn't mean that there's a lot of fraud. The money that goes into research and development, just like the money that went into USAID, is actually one of the least fraudulent places that our money could go into government.
How much? No, there's not. ASG. I know you've been told that there is, but there's not. How much profit is enough? Well, just like with any business, there's lifespans of all products that you put in it. So you take how much it would cost, the assumption of lifespan of the product, and you say, okay, we need to have money in the bank to be able to replace these when they break. So you divide and all of that stuff. Like, there's computers that can do it. That's why USAID was wrought with fraud. It wasn't wrought with fraud.
Oh, this makes me so upset. Like, this really touches like a place in my heart that makes me so upset. USAID was the only government entity that had passed an audit. Like, every time they had an audit, it employed a massive amount of people who probably really didn't get paid that much, but who did some of the best work worldwide that the world has seen over the course of the decades that they were incorporating their work.
In fact, USAID was the least fraudulent organization in the entire government. Now, take the Pentagon. It's been 10 years and they still haven't been able to pass an audit.
I don't even think they've done an audit. They like stopped doing them because they were so embarrassed that they couldn't pass one. And USAID, the destruction of USAID it doesn't make sense fiscally, because for us, what we were gaining out of it was
soft power.
Yes, soft power. So we were gaining fiscally, we were gaining from it. It costs like nothing to care for people and to put an investment into up and coming developing countries. But also morally, I mean, they're estimating that by 2030, the destruction of USAID will cost 14 million lives. Most of those children.
And again, Mark, regardless, I mean, I appreciate that you think that every department needs to pass an audit. I understand that the problem is that you see that people are hurting here and you don't think we should be helping other people. That's the difference between you and me. I see every person on the planet as someone deserving help. And I see the fact that we as a country have more than a lot of other countries. And I do want to make sure that there is as little fraud as humanly possible in our country at all times. I do not blame one group of people for it. I do not blame a party. I do not blame a race or a religion or anyone else for all the problems. I blame people for the problems. Human beings are the problems. And what I do blame some human beings for is getting rid of a lot of the oversight that was necessary to prevent waste, fraud, and abuse in this country.
Also, USAID did help the American people in a lot of ways. It directly benefited farmers because they had huge contracts where they would send the food overseas. It helps us also with public health because, believe it or not, we are a country that is in communication and close contact with the rest of the world. And to make sure that disease is contained and not spread is a direct benefit to us so that disease does not reach us, the American people.
And it wouldn't be great if everyone was a billionaire, because in our society it would be impossible for everyone to be a billionaire. Not just difficult, literally impossible.
USAID helped us by the tune of pennies. It helped us directly, indirectly, and directly. It benefited us.
I'd rather
say
take.
the Department of Education doesn't help us. I say the Department of Education doesn't help us. Like every dollar put into the Department of Education educates Americans at a rate that they can afford. And as education becomes more and more expensive, you end up with an uneducated population, which is exactly the problem we're facing.
What does COVID have to do with anything?
And also, if you're so concerned about the American people, this is where the pretzel and like brain gymnastics of supporting conservatives does not make sense to me. Because if you truly want to help Americans, then you would be for social services and social support networks here. You would be for universal health care. You would be for SNAP benefits. You would be against the government spending $1.5 trillion on our military.
I mean, again, you don't want us to have to spend money on SNAP benefits for people. You know what? Me too. The difference is your statement is they're just lazy and they're fraudulent and they're stealing from me as the taxpayer. Where I say, how about we just make something that makes it, how about we fix the problem that allows people to be in a situation where they need SNAP benefits. SNAP benefits exist because we are in an unregulated end stage capitalist system that makes it literally impossible for people at the bottom to work their way up. So they need it because the way we've set up the system with SNAP and everything else, if you make $1 more than the minimum, $1, you're off. You want to know what $1 more than the minimum for SNAP? It's still you being unable to survive.
I may be wrong about this, but my understanding when SNAP was pulled, when the government shut down, that most SNAP states that are receiving most SNAP benefits are red states.
Yes.
So,
but the red states are the beneficiary of our social services network. I mean, the majority of them, when you're looking at percentage wise and per capita.
And as a blue state, I'm happy to pay to help people not fall through the cracks in red states.
And that's exactly why there is now a 10-year life life expectancy difference between blue states and red states. This is why when you are comparing quality of life when it comes to any metric that you could possibly think of, that blue states in general dominate red states.
Like like Van said, I got cut off from benefits one time because I made $21.33 over the poverty line. Do you understand how little, how like the poverty line hasn't even changed? And considering how expensive the entire country is, how the poverty line needs to go higher, because what's considered poverty right now is insanely below poverty. Like poverty level is much, like I would argue that $15 an hour in almost every single state in this country is considered poverty. You could not survive on $15 an hour in the United States anywhere starting out. You couldn't.
I also, because somebody kind of was shocked that just little point there, 10-year difference is the average. The largest difference between life expectancy between the poorest and the most expensive county in the United States is 20 years. There is a 20-year life expectancy difference between the bluest county and like the reddest county in the state, in this entire
Of course,
country.
I'm disabled, get disability, but make too much to get food benefits. Yeah. Again, this is look, I want a country where a vast majority never has to touch SNAP benefits, disability benefits, all of them. I would love it. It would be the best thing on the planet. There is nothing that I would want more than a world like that. But if we don't fix the underlying problems that get us there and don't try and just say, oh, they're just being lazy, which is a lie. A vast majority of the people that are on things like SNAP work full time. When you've got a business like Walmart, one of the wealthiest businesses on the planet, that has the highest percentage of any company of people on SNAP benefits and actually helps their people apply for SNAP benefits, that's a problem. That's not the problem of the people that work there. That's the problem in our capitalist society, in our capitalist economy that we've allowed to exist.
I am disabled and I do not get enough money to pay for a rental, even at a studio level, not even a 1-bedroom. But I'm not eligible for SNAP benefits or any other type of assistance. That's what people are dealing with right now, even those of us that are disabled. And then, like you said, we have people that are working 1, 2, 3 jobs, and it's just, yeah, sorry, that makes me emotional.
They've convinced these people that young people, minorities, like basically anyone that they have convinced so many people that the reason that they have thrived is because they worked hard and no other reason, when that's bullshit. I'm not saying that these people aren't working hard. I want to make sure that is very clear. I am not saying people aren't working hard. But when we're talking about the difference of thriving between the people in the top 10% and the people in the bottom 50%, that's not a laziness difference. That's a systematic issue. That problem is systematic at that point. My employer won't pay me a living wage. I'm 59 and it's been weeks since I had a meal. I'm sorry. That hurts my soul. That anyone in this country is dealing with that right now hurts my soul. All right, guys. It is past noon, which means it is time for me to get off. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of the conversations today, this week. It's not an easy thing that we're all doing here, okay? I'm going to make that clear. It's not an easy thing we're doing here. Having these conversations, making the kind of change that's necessary, it is going to be painful. It's going to be exhausting. It's going to be frustrating. It's going to be rage-inducing. But this is what needs to happen. Take breaks when you need it, but also anything you guys can do to support, whether it's watching my content here on the tube of you. If you've got Amazon Prime and you have a Twitch account, you can sub there for free. That helps me out. We got a Patreon. There's all these things out there, and helping the people that are trying to make the change that we say we need. That's important too. There's people running for office that want to make change. The only way we're going to get them in is by helping increase their visibility and name recognition to a point where they can get in office and actually do what they want to do. So if you do anything this weekend, please help sharing, watching my content. It would mean more to me than you know. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the gifts, and the subs. I appreciate you all. I'll see you guys on Monday morning. You guys are amazing just the way you are. I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys.